Hey y'all, welcome back to another War Rapport Wednesday. A whole lot has changed yet again. We do have some answers on some stuff, but to break it all down, we're gonna catch up with our guy Mike G. Thank you so much for joining us, my friend. Biggest news: Chad Baker Mazara has a new home, and it's on the West Coast. Your thoughts on Baker Mazara heading to USC?
I took a while, didn't it, Rex?
Sure did.
I think I'll be interested to hear what the report is on the number that was able to get him out there. But certainly happy for Chad Baker that he found a new home. Look, at the end of the day, he's got to grow and mature and be better than he was at Auburn. I think that should be a goal for any of these young people, to be better than they were the year before. So, look, I think Auburn has moved on. I reported when we sat down and talked that the door may not have been open for him to return to Auburn once he entered the portal. And that 100% had to do with extracurricular things, right? Look, Auburn was ready to support Chad, not only as a player, but financially as well, too. Hopefully he's got that same kind of support out on the West Coast.
And I really like how it's been kind of a mutual understanding. This is the world we live in, and for most part, the Auburn family has been wishing him well, so good luck, Chad. Now, moving on to the women's court, there has been some trepidation that when Larry Vickers came in, maybe a lot of these recruits would find new homes. Granted, some have, but there's some good talent coming to the Plains, especially for the women's basketball team, right?
There is. Soraya Daniels deciding to return, I think, was a big one for Coach Vickers. Look, he's putting together a little bit of squad here. Over the next couple of weeks, we're going to do a series where we get to know the new look Auburn women's basketball. But he had to get a squad together. He's got it together for the most part, and now he's got to turn his attention to making these girls gel together. It was always going to be a tall task in year one, wiping out the roster. There was a lot of love for Coach Johnny Harris from the previous players, and so when you change the coach, you change the people behind the coach. You're going to change a lot about the program, and that's where Coach Vickers is at right now. But the good part is that he is an A+ basketball mind.
Wow.
Right. He is a fantastic planner. He's really good with the X's and O's on the court, and hopefully that will show. Because he came in here, and although Auburn was extremely hurt when Norfolk State played them this year, he was able to cobble together something that got him out of here with a win. I think that the administration was impressed by that, and hopefully with a little more resources, he could do even greater things here on the Plains. So I'm liking the direction that he's going. I still think it's important that fans understand that this is going to be a process, and it's going to take a lot of patience, because we saw what Johnny inherited. She inherited a winless SEC team, got them to the NCAA tournament by year 3.
Which is insane.
I mean, it's faster than what Don Staley did at South Carolina. However, I'm not sure that's a realistic goal for Larry Vickers, is NCAA tournament by year 3. I think that this could go clean into year 4 for him, and they need that much patience. So as he starts to win, hopefully more resources are allocated to women's basketball. The House settlement about the rev share was blocked. Right, the judge wanted the NCAA to go back to the table and not cut walk-ons.
Wow.
Right. Yeah. This is I love what the judge is doing here. She said you cannot just cut these out, fix this, or I'll blow this whole deal up. And once that goes through, we're going to sit down with John Cohen and figure out what are they going to earmark for women's basketball. Right now, I think it's going to take somewhere in the area of like $800,000 to $900,000 if he wants to compete consistently, and we'll see what they do with it.
It's definitely really interesting to see not how it'll affect all of college basketball. Really interesting. Maybe another sneaky contender coming up in the next couple of years when it comes to Auburn women's basketball. Of course, another big event, the NFL draft. We saw some Auburn guys find some great homes, some drafted, some signed as free agents. For you, though, I just wanted to open up the floor. Was there an Auburn player going to a certain team that you were really excited about?
Look, man, at the end of the day, I think Jarquez Hunter found a really, really good home.
Wow.
And he was the first Tiger off the board. But, one of the things I was disappointed with, Rex, was just, only 3 Tigers drafted, I think, did not underscore how much talent Auburn had. A lot of fans were disappointed that Eugene Asante didn't get drafted. Right? We saw Jason Jones go to the Ravens, so he'll be there in Baltimore. The Rams took Jarquez. The Chargers took Keandre Lambert-Smith. These guys landed with good NFL teams, and it's going to be fun to watch what they can do. But ultimately, what the draft results point to is where your program is at as far as winning is concerned.
Kind of a final grade.
Yes, right. Like, so if you've got guys going to the next level, that is a key sign of the health of your program. And the SEC, I think, had a record 79 players drafted. Yeah, it was crazy. And so, with that success, you see higher draft picks. I just think that Auburn should have had more guys drafted than they did. And the association with losing hurt these guys in the draft. Jarquez Hunter in the 4th round. Give me a break. Keandre Lambert-Smith was one of the top 4 receivers in the SEC last year.
Should have been a 3rd round guy.
Yeah, should have been a 3rd round guy, right? I think Jarquez Hunter could have been a 2nd round guy. Like, to give you perspective, there were only 2 backs in the draft that had a higher yard per carry average than Jarquez Hunter. Wow. That was R.J. Harvey, UCF, and Ashton Jeanty, Boise State.
Wow, the guy who went in the 1st round, high in the 1st round too.
Yeah, right. And so Omarion Hampton was the 2nd running back off the board. He's a good running back. He is, and there were some good Cam Scatteraboo, like some of the guys that went before him. Both running backs from Ohio State, Travion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins. But obviously Jarquez is just as good as those guys. He was just on a worse team. Yeah. And this is why it's important that Hugh Freeze improves the win-loss result, because your guys get more looks when you're winning. Just a rule of life, right? Like, everything's better when you're winning. Honestly. And the losing there, I think, hurt those guys. So they're going to work their tails off at the next level. I think that they're going to do well, with the NFL structure. But, ultimately, it should have been more. It should have been more. I
really like that call there, that Jarquez could be this diamond in the rough kind of guy who's like, look, he was a tremendous back up there with the Genties as far as his numbers go. So, hey, congratulations to Les Snead, a former Tiger, taking him to go to the Rams. Really interested to see how that goes. One of the biggest headlines coming from the draft, though, I thought personally Shedeur Sanders was a guy who was going to come off the board very, very quickly. Took 143 picks until we found out where Shedeur Sanders was going to end up. Just your perspective watching the draft, what was it like to see kind of Shedeur fall that far?
The NFL draft is such a subjective business, right? Like, when you look at how people evaluate talent, everybody does it differently. What one man sees, another man doesn't see. What one GM thinks is the best pick, another GM says, no way, we're not touching that guy. I think that ultimately the NFL is sending a message about extracurricular stuff.
That's fair.
Right? And the circus that comes along with certain players, is his talent good enough to warrant having to deal with some of those other things? I think Shedeur Sanders is extremely talented, and I think that a lot of teams that needed a quarterback missed out on a chance to get a really good quarterback. But you got to be more than just a really good quarterback. And I think they're looking at a lot of different things when you go through those NFL interviews. I mean, I don't think a lot of people understand. They dig into every area of your life. They want to know, things that you did a long time ago. I mean, some of them hire private investigators. Like they really want to dig into, before we invest millions into you as a 1st round draft pick. We had former Auburn Tigers that have gone pro tell us this. When you get taken in the 1st and 2nd rounds of the NFL draft, there's an expectation that you will either play immediately or contribute significantly by year 2. Right. All right. This is why they tell you, if you get less than a 2nd round grade, it used to be a 3rd round grade, you should consider going back to school.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Right. Yeah. Like anything, and it doesn't mean that you're guaranteed to go in the 2nd round. It just means that most teams see your talent as worthy of a 2nd round draft pick. If you're not going to get that sort of evaluation, strongly consider returning, because what can happen is we've seen guys who've gotten 3rd round evaluations fall all the way out of the draft. That's how subjective the process is. I think that Shedeur Sanders was a little bit of a victim of that. But I think he did some things in college that just didn't really help him. And there's not a lot of people who are going to like that message. They're going to think, oh, well, he should be able to be himself. And he should absolutely be able to be himself. But those teams are allowed to see that in whatever vein they see that, and hopefully that works out for most kids that choose to go that route. I don't think it worked out for him in this NFL draft. I don't think anybody would argue that. So doesn't mean that he's not going to be successful. I have questions about he got drafted by the Browns. They took 2 quarterbacks.
I was about to say, that's a packed quarterback room at this point, y'all.
I have questions about like how they're going to manage all that, like, or why they did that. Even.
But again, we're questioning a Browns move. It's welcome back to the NFL.
There you go.
It's going to be one of the most interesting storylines definitely to watch. So also just really interested to see, I think you bring up a great point. Auburn kind of needs to get healthier on the football field as far as their reputation goes. Still congratulations to KLS, Jarquez, all those guys heading to the next level. Really exciting to see. We got to wrap this up here. Mike G, you always do some great work. Where can we find the War Rapport online? And you also, this isn't the only school you cover.
It is not the only one. We're busy over Locked On UCF. Follow me on Twitter at Mike Gittens. You can follow me on Instagram at Mike Gittens _. You can also follow our socials at the War Rapport on every social media platform.
My friends, that'll do it for another War Rapport Wednesday. Another great breakdown. Again, baseball in full swing. We're going to get into that next week. But for now, Mike G, thank you for stopping by, my friend. That'll do it for another War Rapport Wednesday, y'all.